Hi friends, Namaste and welcome back to our YouTube channel Tutor Pratik. In today's CSS session, we are going to learn about CSS Variables. CSS Variables have access to the DOM, which means that we can create variables with local or global scope, change the variables with JavaScript and change the variables based on our media queries. A good way to use CSS variable is when it comes to the colors of our design. And instead of copy and paste the same color over and over again, we can easily place them with using CSS variables. So today's session of CSS variable help you to manage bigger and huge CSS projects. But before we start, if you are new to our YouTube channel and still didn't subscribe to our YouTube channel, please do subscribe our YouTube channel and press the bell button that near to it, that you will get notified firstly whenever we publish our new session videos. Now, not being late, let's begin our today's session. For understanding the usage and importance of CSS variables, let's have test it with applying on CSS color values. On first, let's create some text headings, contents and buttons on our web pages. And now let's give some CSS properties for our headings, buttons and container classes. Here, as untraditional way, we give the same color values, that is #1E90FF for all HTML elements h1, h2, container, class, button on various CSS properties. While we working with some theme-based template, we may have to use same color for multiple times, as here we use 4 times. And if we have to change our theme color, then worst thing is that we have to go each place of that particular color and replace it with the new one, which is really headaching, and also have to do manually, hard to do with JavaScript or other codings. So the scope of CSS variables developed. Now today, we will clearly learn the CSS variables uses and importance to read out from these above mentioned problems. So please keep watching the video till end. And first, let's understand the syntax of the CSS variable function. The syntax of the var function is as var brackets name, comma, value. Here the name is compulsory field, which defines the name of our variable, and it must be started with 2 dashes. The second one, value, is optional, so we can just skip it. This is only for fallback value, which is used if the variable is not found. While using CSS variables, we can use it as global or local scope. Global variables can be accessed or can be used through the entire document, while local values can be used only inside that selector where we define or declared our CSS variable. And first, let's try the local CSS variable. For this, inside our container class, let's create color1 and color2 CSS variable. Dash dash color1 has 1E902FF dash dash color2 has FFFFFF. Now let's refresh our color values with these CSS variables color1 and color2 in our CSS definitions. For using CSS variables, we use it as var, and inside the bracket we will give the CSS variable name as dash dash color1 for using the color1, and var bracket --color2 for using the color2 CSS variable. Now here we can see that the CSS variable color is only affected on those elements like h2, paragraphs and button only, because we define our CSS variable as local only. So this CSS variable is only works inside the elements which are bounded by the container div. Now let's make our CSS variable to global, that it can be used by everywhere and all over the HTML elements of our web page. For this, we have to define our CSS variable inside :root. So let's move our CSS variables color1 and color2 inside the :root. Now here we can see that our CSS variables are working for all HTML elements of our entire web pages. In this way, we can define any CSS variables with any easier name, like for color1 we can give the name blue, and for color2 we can give the name white. That we can understand our CSS variables better. Thus, the advantage of using CSS variables are, it makes the code easier to read and more understandable. It makes much easier to change the color values instantly. It makes easier to change values through JavaScript. As we discussed on start, while we're using traditional style for giving same colors for our themed web page, in case of changing theme color, we have to do it manually and have to replace all that color in that each place with the new color name. But now when we utilize the CSS variable, now we can change the color theme with changing the values on just single place where we defined our CSS variable. Like, let's change this color1 value to orange color. Now we can see that just changing the single value of color on that single place where we use the CSS variable, we change our web page theme color. Here all the blue color are replaced by this orange color. Here we just take demo of CSS variable in color value. We can use the CSS variables in any CSS properties values like for width size, font size, etc. In this way, by using CSS variables, we can create easily a systematic managed CSS web templates from where we can easily change our web templates designs or color schemes. If you have any issues or any problems you faced when you're trying these CSS tutorials, you can feel free to contact us through our comment box. I feel happy to assist you to solve your issues. That's all for today. We will come back soon with more interesting videos. Until then, take care and goodbye.